go, fam. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. We are going to be talking about my 3 favorite bass baits to recommend for summertime bass fishing. The first one that we're going to be talking about is this one that this bass just absolutely choked, and that is a Wacky worm. Well, technically it's a Senko worm, but this is on the Wacky rig. But yeah, I'm going to release this fella and then we'll get right on to the video. Here are the 3 baits we're gonna be talking about. I'll see you later, buddy. Awesome. But yeah, so we got the Chatterbait, that's the second bait. We got the frog, and then the first one is the bait that I just caught that fish on, a Senko / Wacky worm. These things catch tons of fish. Fish them all different sizes. But yeah, stay along. We're gonna continue with this video. This is going to be a video that I think is going to help so many people catch so many more fish in the summertime. And the reason why is just simply because it doesn't need to be complicated. You can go out and catch fish despite the time of day, despite the time of year. If it's June, July, August, like, you should be able to go out there and catch fish with these 3 lures. The first one is that Senko / Wacky worm rig that I was explaining earlier. Right here, I just have it rigged up with a Wacky hook, and I really like the ones with the weed guards, just so that you can fish in areas that might have logs or might have just easy hang-ups for you to get your hook caught up on. Which essentially the Wacky worm is pretty weedless as is. That's why I think it's just a genuinely a phenomenal technique to use almost all summer long. But yeah, the other thing you can do with the Senko is you can actually rig it like a Texas rig. So you can rig it just like you would a ribbon tail worm, or maybe like a creature bait or some type of craw. Yeah, Texas rig works phenomenally well all summer long as well. I'm not gonna go over exactly how to rig that. I will say that there are tons of other great YouTube channels that explain exactly how to do that. And eventually I will do the exact same thing. But currently, I do not have that video out yet. And like I said, this is just a super simple technique. I like throwing it on braided line. It actually works really well for ponds and just in general. I think a lot of guys nowadays, especially kids, are throwing it. Throwing a lot of fishing. A lot of fishing baits on braided lines. So I think a Wacky worm is a phenomenal bait to recommend to anybody. And yeah, if you guys are going out there, I hope you guys are catching them. And remember, switch up the sizes if you need to. If you're not catching them on a 5-inch, try a 7-inch, try a 6-inch, try a 4.5 or a 4. This is a 4 1/4, and I absolutely love this thing. I was actually throwing around my 7-incher for a while, and I didn't catch anything on that. But as soon as I switched over to this 4-incher, boom, caught like 3. So honest to God, I like to carry a few different sizes. The colors aren't necessarily that important to me, but I'd say whatever boosts your confidence, I would recommend you buy. So I'm trying all different colors right now. I'm doing really well with white, but I love green pumpkin. I love the bluegill colors. Anything that represents natural forage, I think works really well. Now the second bait that I want to talk about is a Chatterbait. Now a Chatterbait is a phenomenal fishing bait. Like, this is, you can catch northern pike, you can catch muskie, you can catch bass, you can catch crappie, you can catch anything on a Chatterbait. Essentially what it is it's just a jig head with a skirt, and then it's got that blade on the front. And as soon as you cast this thing out and start retrieving it, that blade vibrates like crazy. It instantly starts vibrating. And that's essentially what attracts the fish. Fish have a vertical line that goes down their body that can sense different kind of vibrations, and a Chatterbait sets that off. It most definitely does. So I always like to recommend these in the summertime and even in the spring and fall. This is one of those baits that I almost always have in my 3 bait recommendation list, just simply because of the versatility it has. It is a phenomenal bass fishing bait just due to the versatility. And meaning you can literally fish it in deep water, shallow water, weedy situations, rocky situations, sandy situations. Like, throw any kind of variable at yourself and you can essentially make a bladed jig or a chatterbait work for you. It's a phenomenal bait. I recommend 1/4 ounce all the way up to about a 1/2 ounce. If you're fishing in really deep water, maybe 3/4 up to an 1.5 ounces or something. But typically around the area that I'm in, ponds are about 4 to 10 feet deep, so I like 3/8 of an ounce. If I fish lakes, 10 to 20 feet of water, I'll like a 1/2 ounce. But typically a 3/8 of an ounce is a sweet spot, especially if you're throwing it on a bait casting rod or something like that. But that's another bait that I think is really versatile. You can throw it on any kind of rod, any kind of reel, essentially catch fish. It's just an effective bait. So yeah. Oh yeah, also did want to mention, because I do get this question a lot, what's the difference between a $5, $6 chatterbait or a $10, $20, $50, or $15 chatterbait like a jackhammer? The biggest thing that you're going to be paying for is just the components that make up the chatterbait. So, meaning the jig head, as I was explaining earlier, sometimes those can be poured with really nice lead, and they can kind of have a slot in it to allow the blade to kind of go up and down. And they also will come with like realistic eyes on them as well, and they usually will come painted. And then the skirts, they're also an upgraded material, or essentially just like a more like artistic color, or more artistic, appeal to it. And then the blade, you can buy some that have a clear blade, like this one. This one's a jackhammer stealth blade, I believe it's called. And this works phenomenally well in like really pressured waters, in quarries or like super clear water situations. This thing is super cool. And then I've started to dive into, fishing some nicer baits, and the jackhammer is definitely one of those baits that, holy smokes, I think it's well worth the $15 to $20 that it is. And it's essentially just because the jig is super well, like it's just well crafted, well made. It's just the perfect size, the perfect castability, more or less. So like, you can really bomb this thing far away, and I can cast it really accurately. And then the vibration, the biggest thing that I would say the difference is with this than like a $6 one like this is just the vibration. The vibration on this is way more intense, and essentially as soon as that bait starts dropping, as soon as you cast it out there, you can feel the vibration on the end of your rod tip. Whereas this one, you more or less kind of have to, once you cast it out there, as soon as you start retrieving, you'll feel the vibration. But with this one, the jackhammer, it'll even vibrate on the way down, like as if it's, just sinking to the bottom. It'll all the way down. And that's, as somebody that fishes a ton, like that's a huge confidence booster. And I genuinely, I love to fish them. So I had to include that with my chatterbaits. And yeah, I hope you guys are going out there and catching fish on these all year round, because that's exactly what I do. And then the third bait, where is it? Here it is. The third bait, I really love to recommend this bait, even though I will say it's kind of a more difficult bait to throw. It's a frog, more or less just a hollow body, weedless type of frog. You can throw the plastic frogs too and rig them Texas rig. That works phenomenally well, actually, especially if you're throwing like a wacky worm or a Senko rather, on a Texas rig. That way you can just toss a plastic frog in your pocket and kind of switch it out if you need to, especially if you're using braid. But yeah, essentially, like, I really like to, show people that you're going out there and you're not overcomplicating things. Like, you're just trying to put something in front of these fish that they're eating all the time. And in our area and most areas around the US, like, let's be real, there's frogs everywhere. They eat frogs. They love frogs. Oh my gosh, they hang out in shallow water. Bass hang out in shallow water. If a frog jumps in front of a bass's face, you're gonna see that frog get eaten. And that's why I always recommend a frog, because a lot of the areas we also have in the summertime, they get so drowned with weeds. You just get suffocated with weeds all the way to the surface. So it's like you cannot even fish a chatterbait. You can't fish sometimes you can't even fish a Texas rig without getting weeds off your hook all the time. So sometimes that's when I just like to pull out a frog and just kind of make it dance on top of the water. I like the popper frogs. They make tons of different kinds of frogs now, but the popper frog is personally my favorite because you kind of get two lures in one. It's a weedless frog, but it's also a popper. So when you're going over the scum, say you got a bunch of scum and then you got a hole, I like to bring that frog right over the scum, and then as soon as it gets in the hole, I'll let it sit there. And then if I give my rod a nice bow, boop, it makes a nice little popper sound. And I can do that a couple times before I'm out of that hole. And it's like working a little popper, you know, in between lily pads or something. So I think those are three really phenomenal baits that anybody can go out and try to catch bass with. So I hope this helps. And comment below if there's anything else that you guys want to see. I'm probably going to be doing another one of these for the fall and for the spring when that comes around. But yeah, hope you guys like this video, and we'll see you guys next one. Peace.